is it right that I should be straight? Am I in the right journey being a human? And I know, I'm sure, God, that you accepted me being a queer person.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. I begin, as I always begin, in the name of Allah, whose grace I seek in this and all other matters. Assalamu alaikum. I just am trying to catch my breath from a whirlwind 5 days in Malaysia, which was my first post-pandemic, let's pretend we're completely post, my first time to travel not related to my family in 2 years. And I saw so many friends and ate so much food. I think I kind of overdid it. Please forgive me if I stumble here or there. I just want to welcome you to friends along the way, and that's the reason why I mentioned it. One does feel heartened in this journey towards justice, equality, and dignity to have people that you really consider to be friends who are working on this path with you. So in this way, it will be my pleasure to introduce Zuby, Yusuf, to you. Being a certified facilitator and motivational keynote presenter, Zuby Yusuf works with individuals, organizations, and private institutions to amplify their communication, connection, and confidence so they can make an influential impact to the community and society. She is founder of the Healing Circle Singapore, a safe space for LGBTQ plus Muslims to reconcile with their faith through group therapy, one-on-one counseling, and learning Islamic spirituality through book study. She mentors with passion, guiding her LGBTQ plus community to effectively strengthen and elevate their personal leadership vision to new heights. Zuby is all about authenticity and being true to yourself. Zuby is also a writer, where most of her stories have been published through publications in Medium, and she's also one of the writers in a book published last year in June called Exhale, an anthology of queer Singapore voices. And I just want to make one logistical announcement, and that is that each of the people who are in the gallery who wish to participate during the question and answer session will have complete control over their devices. You may choose to speak and show your video as you like, keeping in mind that this will become public in about 1 week's time. You may choose to speak without your video, or you may choose to put a question or comment in the chat, and I will be managing that as we go along. That way each person has a right to find their comfort zone with regard to their security needs and preferences. It will be recorded and it will be published, so therefore you choose in accordance to your own location. With that being said, I'm going to hand over the floor to Zuby. Please, Zuby, my friend, you have the floor.
Assalamualaikum, everyone. Thank you, Prof. Amina Wadud. It's really such an honor to be part of this Friends Along the Way. I shall begin with Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. And I will start with the story about where I started to understand who I am as a queer person. The thing started when I was at the age of 40 years old, where I have a stage of realization where there are 3 people that I've known and loved passing on the same year. The first one was my mom. And then subsequently after that, a few months later, was my ex-husband. And then after that, the last one was my god sister, whom I can say anything under the sun with her. And in fact, she's the first person that I have really, in a way, outed myself to her, because I said, you know, I think I am queer, I'm different. And we had a discussion on that. And at that point of time, you know, at my generation, there's no term of LGBTQ. Well, I know that I'm different. I am what Malay people say ganjil or freak in derogative words, or weird. So upon all these obstacles that I went through at the age of 40, I have a stage of realization in the sense that I know that all this while, being a daughter of a religious teacher, I was not praying for God. I was praying for my mom. I was really trying to be on par as being a daughter of Ustazah. And that got me thinking about, who am I? I know there is God, but is it God in Islam or God in other religion or other faith? And eventually I came out from the religion, but discreetly, I still wearing hijab because I did not want my family, like my father or my sister or my siblings, knowing that I'm out of Islam. So I stopped praying, I stopped doing fasting or anything, and I try to understand myself. Why is it so difficult for me to have a relationship with the opposite gender as well? And being a single parent, I understand that my marriage didn't last because first it's arranged marriage. Secondly, there's no existence of what you call love, But eventually, at that age of 40, I also had my first same-sex love with someone. Through my journey to understand myself with my creator, so I fell in love with this girl who happens to be a Malay Muslim, a queer Malay Muslim. And we get to know each other. And once we get to know each other, I found something like a new enlightenment of Islam, a different side of Islam. Because during my mom time, everything is so conservative to the point that she said that being queer is haram in Islam. We did have this kind of discussion because my late uncle, my mom's brother, happens to be a queer person. So eventually, through those kind of personal journey of myself and knowing this girl, eventually I come back to Islam through her. But this time, the Islam that I've met, that I know now, is Islam that full of graciousness, love, mercy, forgiving. And I tend to explore more to understand who I am. And after years, like I think my relationship with her is about 2 to 3 years, and then we broke up. And when we broke up, it was quite a painful journey for me because I felt that is a real first love for me with a person. Even though, yes, I had that kind of relationship in the past, but it's so much different than it was before. And before I explain to that, I just want to let you know, Prof, when I was young, my mom taught me who is Allah, to the point that I had these imaginary symbols of God, like a man wearing white with a songkok, but no face. And it's so bright and light. That is my God. And because it's so hard for me to do prayer when my mom said, no, you can't identify God as, certain thing. You have to just do the prayer. But when I have that kind of image in me, I managed to do it, So eventually, as my journey to explore a new set of Islam that I feel really resonates my lifestyle and who I am. But of course, at the back of my mind, still saying like, is this sinful? Is this zina? Having a same sex, And then I try to explore the story of Lot personally along the journey. So the starting point of 40 years old at the age of 40 in 2005 onwards, I try to explore, okay, where's my new journey? If I come back to Islam, okay, this is the Islam I want. How should I go through? And when I broke up, I went through another so-called a second conversion therapy. Before that, in the mid-20s, I went through a first conversion therapy, but it was quite traumatic. And it's kind of strange and weird as well. But I'm not going to reveal that. Maybe anyone who wants to buy the exhale, go and read up in page 222, titled Ganjil, or in other words, strange, derogatory meanings freak. So through the second conversion therapy, the reason being because I said, am I in the right journey being a human? Is it right that I should be straight? So I volunteered myself going through another conversion therapy. And I met this alim, and he is a Sufi, and he's certified Reiki. So he's doing that kind of, style of like zikr and doing Reiki on me. But, after that second conversion therapy, I become more lesbian. That's the way I feel. I in a way, I just can't escape being who I am. And along those journey, the first thing that I try to Google is I look for gay imam, because the patriarchal mindset is still there. Islam is a symbol of man, right? So when I look for gay imam, I found an organization by Imam Mohsin Hendricks, right? And the Inner Circle. So I saw his video, and then he talks about Islam, and his eloquence, his gentleness, makes me to realize yeah, that is the Islam I want to hear. That's the Islam that I really feel this is what resonates me for being who I am. And that opens up for me to see the other side of the Quran, where a lot of mercy and graciousness inside of them, where you feel that God is more closer to you than anything else. And eventually I've met another person and another partner of mine. And then through, I love to volunteer about and she introduced me this underground group called Mufarida. And through this Mufarida, that's the first LBTQ, there's no G, group of lesbian Muslims where we sit down and we talk and we chat. But they're so underground to the point that I feel, is that all? Just sit down and chat. And when the founder decided to move and migrate to other country, she passed on the baton to me and to another individual. But somehow I feel it still doesn't resonate, because I believe if you want to set up an organization, even though no matter how safe space and discreet it is, you need one person's face to exist to show that we are queer Muslim organization. So I came up from there and I said, I'm going to open up my own kind of group. At the thought of my mind it's always the symbol of circle, this. And I remember when I do my Hajj in 1991, the circumambulations along the Kaaba makes me feel like that's how we should be, in a circle. But what is the word of? It's not just circle, Muslim circle or something circle. But I do know that whenever we want to reconcile ourselves as queer and our faith, you need to heal. And that's where the word comes, the healing circle. So one of my friends, he's a trans male, he said, why don't you put healing in front? I said, oh, okay. That's where the healing circle comes in. Then when the healing circle comes in, I still hasn't formed anything yet. So in 2016, I went for Umrah. And I said to myself, I would like to, when I do the sa'i and tawaf, and every time when I'm near to Kaaba and Medina, and I said, I want to open up this organization. And I know the word is the healing circle. And I'm sure, God, that you accepted me being a queer person. And please guide me if this organization, Healing Circle, would be something that is blissful for everyone who resonates with the way I am, And that's how Healing Circle starts. So when I come back, I decided to have one session where I invited two of my friends, Imran, I think you know who's Imran, and then the former Mufarida founder, Iris Akbar, because she undergone a certain research where this research talks about the inner body of us that makes us unique from heterosexual people. So eventually, upon all this journey and all that, and the most strangest thing and the most beautiful thing is whenever I try to understand God, right? Like I mentioned, I've seen a man glowing with Songko. It's all gone. Once I know myself, it's all gone. It's like, oh gosh, this is who I am. And my salah, well, I must admit, I got difficulty in salah right now. But I believe my salah is more of contemplation, thinking about God. And whatever I do is everything is God. More into like the intricacy of Sufism. And from there, I feel that I need to know more to prove and evidence that whatever in the story of Lot is not about homosexuality. It's more about men with power and greed. And I strongly believe that the man who translates the story of Lot is also a man of power who discreetly, maybe he happens to be a person who has a tinge of gayness. We may never know, right? But because, they try to hide an agenda to it. So I think for people like Imam Da'i Abdullah, Imam Hussein, and others like you, Prof, you guys are trying to fight the truth, the realization that, we need to have a new transliteration of the Quran, where it is gender neutral or rather non-binary kind of context, where we can really resonate for people of today and the next generations. And for people of power writing these books and using queer people as a scapegoat, I think that's really is really a discrimination towards humankind. And recently, I noticed about this TED talk that I heard from this Dr. James O'Keefe. He says that there is scientific evidence why a child become a queer. One of the thing is that he says that it happens due to the prenatal stress of women who conceive a child. And evidence stated that there is about 33% queer male, because they only focus on male, queer gay men comes from a mother who is happens to be in a prenatal stress. And when I look back and recall how my mom told me the story of she having a lot of difficulty of having me, at that point of time also my, the age gap between me and my brother is only 3 to 4 years. And my brother has a lot of complications as well. He has a pneumonia. And then during those time, 2 of my grandparents passed away at the same day. So my mom had a lot of issues at that point of time. And to the point that when she wants to deliver me, she has a lot of complications and she had to undergo cesarean. So I believe, yes, maybe that's the part of me being who I am, poor, Do I blame my mom? No, I feel that's a bliss. And also another evidence by this evolutionist biologist, E.O. Wilson. He says that a society who discriminate homosexuality is giving a harmful to the nature. Sorry, let me quote his words properly, because I don't think I could. Okay, he said a society that condemns homosexuality harms itself. He says that homosexuality is a nature way of balancing the people that's living on earth. So for us to have certain children who is homosexual, but they have a certain uniqueness in them. They are, according to the research, they are more empathetic, they are more passionate, they understand well about how stressful life is all about. Because they are sexual minorities that understands the struggles of being who we are and how we fight for our existence day in, day out. And if only the mainstream Muslims who happens to be in a heteronormative lifestyle could see us in an empathetic way rather than see us as a person who objectify into sex, I think there is possibility to make them to understand that, being queer and Muslim or a Christian or a Buddhist do exist. Yeah. Well, I think at the moment that's about all I can say. Unless there's questions.
Yes, we will go to questions in just a bit. Thank you very much. I just want to say a couple things here. First of all, I think I read that same study, but I don't remember the author. And I want to just elaborate a little bit about the notion of stress in the mother. We tend to think about stress as having exterior pressures like poverty, war, certain conditions, family circumstances or challenges like, the death of a parent or, extended family members. We tend to think about stress in that way, but actually in terms of reproduction, stress is sometimes at an other level. It could be something interior so that it is not so apparent from the outside. That's just my 2 cents, In other words, I did find that fascinating in reading it, and you're sharing it. But I also feel that it's way bigger than just what we understand and can see as stressful, that sometimes the body is, responding to something much deeper. Can I get you please to just tell me a little bit about the circumstance for Muslims in Singapore? Some people may know, but some people may make assumptions based on, other countries around. For example, right across the water where I live is Indonesia, the most populous Muslim country in the world. And then north of you is Malaysia, which also has a Muslim majority. And so I kind of want to have people understand the situation with regard to your quote unquote democratic citizen rights and how that also impacts on your ability to address the needs of LGBTQ plus Muslims?
Thank you so much. That's a very, very good question. Actually, somehow or other, I feel quite blessed to stay in Singapore because we are in a secular government. But however secular we are, the government is still inclined towards the conservatives. They really take good care of them. Not saying that they are not taking care of us, they do, but they're trying very hard to make that balance, where we can come a certain common ground. I have sat into a closed door meeting with mainstream Muslims, and it is so intense sometimes. It's so difficult to really sit down and talk and explain to them, where we are, how we go through. And when we talk about, like I said, we need to have a new set of translations of the Quran. You can see, like, they were folding arms, like defending themselves, even though they're silent, but you can see their body language, like, are you sure? Something like that, And I feel like you are talking to the wall sometimes, but I persevere. I'm an optimistic person. I feel that, okay, maybe my generation time will not exist, but who knows? Maybe one day, people will really, really understand and open their heart and mind, not just eyes, open their heart and mind to really say, hey, there's nothing wrong being a queer, and there's nothing wrong for a queer person to have a faith. And this is the thing, this is the issue that we have in Singapore, actually. And the funny thing is about, the Penal Code 377A is a colonial penal code. It's such archaic and old, and yet these conservatives hold on to this. But on the other hand, they want modernization. But they still hold this penal code because of us. And I feel like the hypocrisy of the conservatives' mindset, it's ironic. It's really sad because the first thing that they don't want is for us to have families. And that's the reason why they hold this 377A. And I feel that, if we were to repeal, we repeal because, first off, it's a first step that the states acknowledge our existence. That's really important for us. That's the reason why we want to repeal. But if the state are focusing on the conservatives, then what about us? And, we're saying the pledge, we the people of Singapore, pledge ourselves as a democratic society. So where's that democratic society? How can we exist if that democratic is not being emphasized or being acted upon as a verb? So yeah, that is what we are going through, whether we're Muslim or we're non-Muslims. But it's really wonderful when all the queer communities, NGOs come together. We really hold hands together and we really fight for one another, regardless of our race, our religion, But of course, there are some issues like, young gay people going into Grindr, and then the person will say, oh, I like someone who's fairer and not this kind of particular race. That kind of racism do exist as well, but we can avoid that. But when it comes to community building for the society, for the queer society to really exist in Singapore, that's phenomenal. That's wonderful. And that's something that I'm enjoying the state of it, even though it's tiring at times when we trying to talk to the conservatives and saying, hey, let's sit down and talk. Let's just hear our story, and we are open to hear your story. Why you feel that being queer, we cannot have another entity of faith, like being Muslim, yeah.
I just think that in Muslim minority contexts, like US, Canada, Australia, UK, in Muslim minority contexts where the law of the land offers at least some citizen protection rights for all citizens, no matter their religion, orientation or race, etc. It doesn't mean it's even. I mean, I'm Black from America. It's never really been even or fair or completely implemented. But I think in terms of the recognizing the global journey for queer Muslims, the stark difference between those nation states that still have laws on the books that restrict even, the human dignity of persons on the grounds of their sexual orientation versus, South Africa being the only country where it is in the Constitution specifically. And other countries, like, for example, in the US, we just keep slowly fighting even the idea of the case something like 4 or 5 years ago with the federal Supreme Court giving permission for same-sex marriages. It's fought on the grounds of the equal citizenship and determining that sexual orientation does not limit someone's citizenship. You have that legal support, but as you continually refer to conservatives in Singapore, you then have the intra-Muslim sort of ad hoc contact. So it's cultural and not so much legal. And obviously we want to be part of our own communities with regard to our faith and our worship and our spirituality, and yet those are the places where the arguments will be so closed out, and yet at the same time, as you said, there is a kind of privilege to at least be able to take people to court or call the police on them or whatever. Not that you want to do that, especially considering Black Lives Matter in the United States, but I think it's also important for people to understand that for you to have your own journey, you were working not only with your family and your family's expectation and your expectation as a daughter, sister, in that family, but also you were working within the context at which you had some civil liberties with regard to, following this journey to understand your own location spiritually and sexually. And I just think people need to know that, because Singapore, between two Muslim majority countries, in some ways has more civil liberties with regard to sexual orientation than the other two countries. The other thing I wanted to talk about with you, Zuby, a little bit, and then I'm going to throw out a question specifically with regard to the caring circle, is one of the mandates, I think, in addressing the issue of sexuality and spirituality in the context of Islam is addressing the, for lack of a better word, I'm going to use the clinical term of mental health, addressing the mental health of queer Muslims. And I really want to remind all of us that this divide that is created between sexuality and spirituality, which is pretty pervasive, this divide creates a schism within the very heart of a person, because I used to say you have to choose. You must either be gay or be Muslim. At least that's what the conservatives have tried to compel upon us. But it's pervasive. And that means that people are torn between two very fundamental needs within their identity development. So of course, this creates a lot of stress. Remember earlier I said stress is not just the outward stuff. It is also sometimes very subtle stuff in the inside. And obviously there is also such a wide spectrum with regard to mental health conditions. There are, and again, you're not exempt from them, because you're queer and Muslim. You could also be a person, for example, who is inclined toward depression, and then you are in a community where you have a very depressive response to your journey in terms of, identifying yourself as both Muslim and queer. And so one of the greatest needs that we have, I think, in our community is to provide opportunities to develop strategies to approach the issues of wellness and well-being and mental health when this divide is so pervasive. For example, if you are a young person and you begin to understand certain things about your orientation, and there are cues at other places, even if you're not finding it in your household or your extended family, there are cues that there are obviously people who are non-binary in their orientation. If you begin to see this about yourself, you have your own struggle, but also you have a set of relationships with your parents, with your siblings, your cousins. You have a set of relationships where those members of your most intimate circle themselves do not have any guideposts as to how to respond. So the go-to response is, you cannot be queer and Muslim. So therefore, I, as a parent, for example, must push you to be non-queer in order to be Muslim.
Yes.
But even if I am a parent and I wish to be supportive of your developing your authentic self, I like your word, developing your authentic self as both queer and Muslim, there are no resources, or there are scarcely any resources for me as a parent to understand how do I assist you towards this wellness. Now, obviously, there are, sometimes no manual that comes with a child to say this is how you parent this particular child. So just being a parent in of itself is a challenge, but trying to be a loving and supportive parent for a queer Muslim child is an entire area that has scarcely any resources that addresses it, because for those of us, in this journey, approaching to the mental health of queer Muslims is the priority. But obviously we are part of a network, our family. How do we also approach, for example, the parents, the extended family? Suppose your dad is one of those people who go to the mosque, 5 times a day because he's, very devout and he wants to maintain his devotions in the company of other Muslims. Even if he wants to support, his child, what does he say to that community, and how might he be treated by that community with regard to his mental health, his identity and spirituality? So there is such a, I love always the images of concentric circles. There's so many overlapping circles. Sometimes finding, just the right location for you to inhabit for your wellness is not so easy. And so I particularly wish that you might share with us something about what kinds of activities you do in the caring circle, and even how you develop organizationally in terms of getting support to be able to maintain those activities and etc. So please.
Thank you. We also have group therapy session, and group therapy sessions, like what we have done is like art therapy, and then they will explain why you do those kind of arts, like what is the symbol of that color for you. And then we also have like a letter writing, because most of them are closeted, right? So I said, imagine who are the person that you really want to out yourself to them, write that letter. And then I will ask them to read up, because that's very cathartic in the sense that they feel release that they wanted to say so much. That is quite emotional set of group therapy. Another thing is that we have one-on-one counseling session where this is private and confidential. And also after that, as a counselors as well, we also need to check up on ourselves. Are you okay? Because all this, they have those ripple effects, right? Something that's layer over layer. And fortunately, most of our counselors are allies. They are not within the gay community, except me alone, who's within a gay community. So they understand the issues that we went through. And for parents to really want to sit down and talk to us, sometimes they have difficulties because not both parents would agree. Normally, the mother, I must admit, most of the situation that I've met as a parent, the mother would understand the child very well, even though they feel that being queer is just a phase. But they are willing to really like, hey, let's sit down and talk with us, and explain what happened to the child. But they do not, Malay culture, right? They are fear to tell their husband about it because they don't know how the husband will react. And most of the typical Malay culture is the husband don't really have a good interaction to the child once the child is a young adult, compared to the mother. So this is the irony. This is the difficulty or obstacles that we are going through, to really find a way to open these communications. And whenever we want to sit down to have communications as well, most of them are men. I ever sat down with a closed door in Muslim organization. I'm the only lesbian there, and all of them are men. So it's so difficult because the patriarchal mindset is there. To break the barrier, it takes time. People say it's baby steps, and people will say, "Oh, we have a lot of resources." Yes, we have scientific resources are there and still going on. But on the other hand, there is all archaic scientific resources saying that, being LGBT is sick. And these conservatives tend to use those all type of scientific resources, which is, you can see is so contradicting. It's so much different. And that's where sometimes as a queer Muslim, we need the help of other queer community that is non-Muslim to fight for us, to stand with us. for us to stand alone, because we are the minority within minority, the difficulty that we have. And then another thing, like for me, for my case, sometimes they will call past midnight, Zuby, I want to talk to you. I just need to release myself. I said, okay, talk to me. Normally it's on the phone. And then what happened? There are times that I need to go out and meet up with them. These are the things that I will do it on my own. And Healing Circle is self-funded. I'm not good in asking for funding. That's frankly speaking. That's how I do my stuff. Because to me, Healing Circle is a way of me paying my zakat to Allah. That's how I do things. And through Healing Circle is the only way is I have Instagram, I have Facebook. Those are the platforms that I can educate people by putting all the information I know. The story of people of Lot, the scientific things, or like women with mustache article. That's very interesting, right? So people to understand the existence of the people of Lot actually is way beyond that. I believe the existence of poor exists during Adam and Eve, because if you were to read the story of how Eve is being created from the ribs of Adam in the Bible, in the chapter of Genesis, right? And that's what you say, Prof. We need to read the Quran based on the masculinity and the femininity, and not the gender like male and female, right? But if you look closely how God created these two creations that she has, I call God she. That's me. So in a way, Adam has been created with a sense of femininity in him. That's why the rib is being taken out. So some part of femininity or genome or genes of feminine in him is through the ribs. And that's where Allah's created Hawa or Eve for Adam. So Hawa itself automatically has a little genome or genes of masculinity from Adam, right? So when they do a consummation together, of course, there will be a creation of in-betweeners, and that is we, the queer. So I believe that way. There's no such thing of Adam and Steve. There is Adam and Eve, because this Adam and Eve is the one that God has created. And I think if I'm not wrong, in the Surah of Ash-Shu'ara, right, where God says that I have the power, something like between the line, okay, Prof? I think you know better. I have the power to create man being a woman being a man, or vice versa. So that alone, God is trying to tell us how I create Adam and Eve. And if we don't see that in a very biological sense of understanding, we just see men and women, then we need to explore that. We need to understand that chapter of Genesis in a scientific reasons. Then we can understand queer has existed since day one. Yeah.
Yeah, we got a little bit distracted talking about theology, which for me, if I go there,
Sorry.
I will never stop. Don't worry, it's no worries. I just want to say that you said that you are, self-funding. Also,
Yeah.
What about your own capacity? Like, what do you do, with the burnout? I mean, because there is more need than there are resources.
Well, when I'm burnout, I look for someone to counsel me. I need counselors as well. And I'm blessed to have a very close-knit friends that really, okay, I'm not putting ahead of a friend now. I'm going to be your counselor. Zuby, what's happening?
Yes.
And I can never say enough thank you to them, because they are always there for me. And sometimes I wrote in journal paper, and just after I writing, I am so angry, I just chuck it away, throw it away. And that's part of the group therapy that I've done as well. And then I would they say, okay, Zuby, I don't want to see your counselor, I just want to see you. And that's, while I'm doing this, I'm working myself. Mm-hmm. And then after working, and then I sometimes meeting the clients outside there, and then I would say, okay, talk to me. Mm-hmm. While you're talking to me, I want you to hear yourself what you are talking to me. Mm-hmm. And then I will take down and I will say, okay, do you hear what you are saying? And then where is the point that you are responsible for what you have done? Because sometimes when we are too submerged of saying, why people blame me for being poor, why this, why that. So in a way, I'm taking a course of positive psychology practitioner right now. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to tweak that negativity into positivity, mm-hmm. because that's the only way we can find a route of healing, mm-hmm. A journey to heal ourselves and learn to appreciate our existence. The problem with us is that I must admit, being a Muslim that's born in a conservative lifestyle, I've been brainwashed for so long. But how do you detox that? That are the things that we need to learn to to slowly taking that detox and saying, hey, there's another side of Islam that we have not looked upon, we have not explored. And people might, I mean, some of the conservatives that I've met with them, they say, you're not a scholar. You don't study religious study. Who are you to talk about it? I said, well, I'm a person who will be responsible when I'm 6 feet under. Who's going to talk to me? You want me to call, hey, Prof, come, talk to me, talk to this angel. Is that it? Because that is when you do Shahada, you are the scholar. You are the one who's going to be responsible of your grave, not people, not the ustaz, you know. Yeah, wake up. Because if I don't learn to understand myself, then how can I let that image or symbolize of man with songkok as my God? So eventually that removes, because I understand everything that I'm saying and sitting down with you, Prof. Everything is God. I am not able to do it if I'm not really trying to understand myself. And Prophet Muhammad gave a very simple clue that almost all of us, especially the conservative Muslim, I'm sorry I have to use this word, you're so lazy. Because Prophet said, if you know yourself very well, yes, you know your Lord, subhanallah. So make time to know yourself and stop complaining, oh, I got no time, I got kids, I got husband to attend to, I got this, I got that. Then where is your me time? So slowly, my burnout is this. When I see people, because when I was in Center for Creative Leaderships, I was a coaching associate. My hobby is people watching. Yes, and I love to watch people to the point that, just to see them, because another thing that I learned about zikr, right? The highest zikr is contemplating, right? When you watch God's creations and how they react, interact with husband and wife or siblings, or strangers and other strangers, it's so amazing, rather than you watch Korean drama, might as well you sit down one corner and you just watch people going by in front of you. It's so unique, you don't need any directors or producers, you just watch them. Because the producers and directors are God. And she showed me all things. And that's wonderful. I guess that's how I release my burnout. Just to watch people like, oh, okay, why is she this and why is he that? And now you can really literally see some, same-sex couple holding hands. That's kind of awesome, And sometimes they like, sneaking around and trying to, brush each other. And you can see, oh, okay, there's a sweet gay couple there, It's wonderful. It's like,
so I did not make a specific invitation if anybody in the gallery wanted to join the conversation, but just to let you know, we're all open. We do have a few more minutes. I also am hoping, when we talked about this previously, just in the launching of KIST, Queer Islamic Studies and Theology, I'm trying to remember which direction to move to clear that in the back. I also would like for us to engage this subject in some type of a forum, where we do make an assessment of the primary mental health issues or health and wellness concerns amongst queer Muslims, but also discuss the types of interventions, care circles, therapies, and the like, that I think would be strategic in the context of our lived realities as Muslims. I think this is something I would like to see happen through KIST at some point in the coming months, inshallah. I don't know if you would be available to assist us in organizing this, but I would love to. I hate to put you on the spot, so don't answer. Don't worry about
no
it. But the thing is that I find that this is a matter of great concern for me personally, but I don't have any skills. And by that I mean I'm not trained in any form of therapy or the like. And one of the occasions for the annual Islamic retreat that used to meet in Cape Town, South Africa. For some strange reason, on one of those occasions, I noticed that a lot of people would come up to me and they would start talking about some very, very stressful experience that they've had in their lives. And I found that, that their honesty and all that was actually a bit overwhelming for me. And by that, I mean, I don't know how to filter what they're telling me from, just like too much sympathy and empathy. It's just, I become very sad, So I don't have the training to be able to do that. I tend to work on obviously the issues of spirituality and health, but it's different because I don't have to make any application, But I do think that this is something that we will be needing to address this for quite some time, in
Yes.
our communities. And I would like to see us, inshallah, at some point take the opportunity to do so, more judiciously, to just, see what kinds of things that, because it's to me, it's, as I said, it's one of the pervasive issues. It's one of the things that's always going to be coming up, So are there no questions from the gallery? I don't want to ignore. There's nothing in the chat, so we're good to go. And since we only have a few minutes, if you have any concluding remarks, I want to invite you to offer them, and then I will close up.
Thank you, Prof. My concluding remarks is this. Don't let anybody tell you who you are, and try to practice to explore the intricacy of you internally. If you want to do meditation, some conservatives say is haram. Ignore that noise, shut them up, and do meditation, because our prophets knowing Jibril through meditation. Why is it haram? And if meditation is the source of you coming back to your creator, go for it. Whatever tools you feel that's really resonates for you to really coming back to yourself, do it. Whether you are queer or you are heterosexual, just do it, because mental wellness is really important. And people say, oh, Salah can help me. That's good. But not everybody can do Salah and meditate through that and to feel like, oh, I'm relieved. Because not everyone have that capacity. So for those people who's not able to do that, find a way to really, explore yourself. Because it's a very important words that our Prophet leave behind for us. And that is, if you know yourself well, you will know your Lord. And if you really say your Shahada that you're a Muslim, then try to know yourself more. Thank you. Thanks, Prof.
You are very welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you for the gallery. I look forward to continually working together for the complete wellness and integration of the best of our health, inshallah. May Allah bless you. Thank you again.
Same to you. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum.